Hello, guys, and welcome to another edition of Pink Sock Podcast. I am joined by TikTok viral sensation and children's book author Brad Gosse. How you doing, brother?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. I've been trying to get you on here for a little while because I've seen you all over TikTok reading children's books, and people either love it or they fucking hate it. And that's what I love about it because that's what comedy is about. And people tend to forget comedy is supposed to push boundaries. It's supposed to make you somewhat uncomfortable.
Yeah, of course it is. And the whole point is some of it's got to be dark, and my humor definitely goes dark. So, I mean, I'm
Right.
dealing with it today. I just put up a video of me pretending to be one of these kindness influencers that overtips waitresses, but then I only give her a 10% tip on a $36 meal, and everybody's losing their mind. I've lost like a few hundred followers already. People are like, I liked your books, but this is too far. And it's like the waitress in the video is also a comedian. Like, we're clearly acting.
Yeah, you're
People are just
parodying people. You're not being serious. And that's the thing. People take shit too seriously, man. Like, that's why I love what you're doing because I grew up on Dr. Seuss, and now as an adult, it's nice to see somebody doing the Dr. Seuss like thing, but for adults.
yeah, of course. And yeah, I'm with you. Like, I grew up on that same stuff, but I also grew up on, Mad Magazine and,
Yeah.
very dark kind of weird humor that wouldn't even fly today, like Benny Hill or, like strange things that if you try to put it on TV today, it would just get canceled.
Yeah, I'm also into stand-up comedy, much like you. If I correct me if I'm mistaken, but I do believe I saw an interview where you said you do have stage anxiety or stage fright.
No, that's not me.
That's not you. Okay,
No,
different
I,
bat, different
I have the
brand.
opposite of stage fright. I have off stage fright. Like I don't know what it is with me. I think I'm just wired a certain way, but I don't really get nervous before a show.
Mm-hmm.
I I'm more comfortable on a stage than I am talking to people one on one, or like if I'm at a party, and I'm talking to a group of people that I maybe don't know that well. That's more uncomfortable for me than here, take this microphone and go talk to everybody. For
See,
what I don't know why, but
I'm both. Like it depends on the person, but I'm uncomfortable in like a group of people unless I know at least one person in that group. And being on stage is kind of different to me because I feel I'm funnier when I'm one on one with somebody because it's a conversation. So I kind of write down that thought and I try to make it funny on stage. But sometimes people don't understand how hard stand up can be at times, especially when the crowd ain't feeling it.
yeah, it's every crowd is different, and sometimes a joke that doesn't fly the first time you tell it flies really well the second time you tell it, or you tell it a different way. You change your tone, you change the pause, you change something random that isn't even the words, and all of a sudden it works better. So I think I don't know. I feel like you got to really test your jokes out in a variety of ways. And that's why I love social media, because it really gives you the chance to just throw some shit at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, and that's what I also love about comedy is I had somebody recently tell me I told a joke, and they're like, "That joke was," they said, "disrespectful and blah 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 blah," and it's only funny to you. And I'm like, "Isn't that what comedy is? Is taking a risk at what you think is funny and hoping others do?"
Yeah, of course. And disrespectful jokes are, you know, often better than the respectful jokes, right? Because when you try to make everybody happy and you try to keep, everyone even, you wind up not making anybody laugh. And it's a lot harder to be a respectful comedian than a disrespectful comedian is just easy.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have it easy. Like, I don't want to make it hard on myself. I don't want to go out there and test a bunch of lame vanilla jokes just to find out that, oh, hey, being respectful didn't work and I bombed tonight because the audience was drunk and they wanted me to be an asshole. I'd rather just be the asshole, because that's what goes on up here. My mind is 100% asshole. Like, my thoughts are mean and dark, and like, I think about, like, I take pleasure in tragedy, like, oddly, You know,
That's
like
how you handle trauma.
it's something like, we had this big solar eclipse not long ago, and it was like a cloudy day. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm happy that all these people, got in their cars and went somewhere to watch this eclipse, and it's just cloudy. Like, that makes me happy. And I don't know if that means I have some kind of mental illness, and if I do, I'm okay with it because I'm leaning into it and it's working on the comedy side. But I really do. I take pleasure in bad weather. I take pleasure in not like mass murder. I wasn't like cheering on 9/11 or anything like that. But when people are let down in a mass group, it makes me happy. Like if you went to see the eclipse and it was cloudy, that's my jam.
You often describe yourself as like the mixture of Cardi B and Dr. Seuss, but I would like to say that you're more of a combination of George Carlin and Dr. Seuss.
No. Cardi B just is a bit more relevant. If I say George Carlin to a teenager, they're going to be like, "Who the fuck is that?" But
true, unless you're a hardcore comedy fan.
We get who Cardi B is, so that's why. Plus, I kind of got her ass.
Oh, I've noticed, bro. You got like the Nicki Minaj ass.
Yeah. I like to clap it.
Well, by the way, my co-host just swung by. She's also from Canada, so she's going to be.
Hello.
Hi.
So, Brad, how do you handle though all the death threats you get? Like, that's got to be anxious. Like, that'd make me anxious, wondering where they're going to be, if they even make through with the threats. Like, how do you handle that?
I catalog them and I collect them. I screenshot them. I put them up on Instagram so everybody can see who they are and what they are. And then I just go about my day as usual. I feel like, I'm in where I live here in Toronto. I mean, someone just drove by Drake's mansion yesterday and fired gunshots because he has a beef with Kendrick Lamar. I feel like that this is part of being, not that I'm comparing myself to Drake because I'm obviously better than Drake.
You're better than Drake because you don't actually do anything with children. But anyway.
Well, I do things for children and to children, but not with children.
Yes.
But I feel like that's just part of, if you want to be in the spotlight or whatever that looks like. I'm not, but like, you're going to get death threats. And I mean, not everybody gets death threats, but I mean, whether you're the president or the prime minister, or you're a comedian, or you're a musician, or you're some type of celebrity and you picked a cause to get behind, whatever, somebody's going to hate you and somebody's going to make evil death threats at you. For me, it's the 10% of people who mistake what I'm doing as serious.
Mm-hmm.
And those people, they deserve to be triggered because they're so stupid that they just like, they deserve to be that dumb, and they deserve to be angry over a comedy, because you're going to have a really bad life if you let this kind of stuff disturb you and upset you and make you so mad that you have to threaten violence. So I feel like I'm doing a service because I like to trigger the stupid.
So death threats make you feel kind of accomplished as a comedian.
Sort of, yeah. It's more like I get more people. So my biggest negative feedback is you're a pedophile. And more than the death threats, more than anything else, I would say about 10% of people who watch my content they flip a switch and they're like, that guy's a child molester. He's targeting children with those books. He wants them to be swingers. And then like they lose their minds, and then they're like, you're a pedophile, and they get really mad. And I guess it goes back to the tragedy thing. It strangely makes me happy when that goes down.
I find that weird because I've noticed that comment like everywhere on your posts, and I'm like, what makes people assume that when you don't actually have any content that would, other than the children's books, but that's clearly to adults.
But it's not clear. That's the thing. It's not clear. It's clear to us. We all
because we're smart.
we get it, but it's not clear. Like, some people are like, but you're using cartoons. And it's like, okay, but there's other cartoons out there for adults. And they're like, no, you're targeting the kids.
What about Beavis and Butthead?
And my favorite thing to say is like, if I targeted kids, I'd be broke because kids don't have any money. They don't have credit cards. They don't have Amazon Prime accounts. And you know, and they sneeze all the time. Like, I don't want kids as my audience because they're broke. So that would be a dumb business model for me to target the children. I'm targeting the parents of the children that I want to read my books to the children.
And whatever happened to adults being parents, though? Like, shouldn't you read what you're giving your kids?
No, we have to protect society from itself. That's how people see the world now. They want to, they need to protect they're stupid and they think they need to protect the stupid, which is even weirder.
That's fucking odd. And that kind of brings me to what I was wanting to talk about next is cancel culture. Like, it's weird because people act like it's a new thing when it's really not. It's just humans are trying to silence other humans instead of law enforcement. Because it used to be you'd get arrested for telling jokes.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened to Lenny Bruce.
Yeah, Lenny Bruce. As we mentioned earlier, George Carlin got arrested many times. Do you think cancel culture is ever going to go away, or can we just keep ignoring it as comics and keep doing what we need to do?
I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. I think that we've turned it into this evil. It's like, I think we'd like to attach names to things, and I'm guilty of this too. Like, I will use the term cancel culture or woke mob or whatever, you know, whatever it is, but it's really not what that it's not. It really comes down to word policing. And I think there's just a group of people who think they need to police your use of certain words and tell you that you can't use certain words or say certain things or talk about certain groups of people. And it's usually not the people. Like, I have a joke about here in Canada, we do a lot of pandering to the Indigenous, and we do these like land acknowledgements. And I have a joke about land acknowledgements, and the Indigenous people love the joke. They think it's hilarious, but the white people lose their minds over it because they think that they have to protect the poor, you know, Indigenous person who doesn't, you know, who doesn't want me to make that joke. But they're the ones saying this is bang on. It's the white people who are getting offended. So a lot of the time, the people who are policing the words they believe it's their job to protect somebody else. Mm-hmm. So they'll say things to me like, "Don't punch down," when I make a joke like that. And I'll say, "Could you make a list of the people who are inferior to me so that I'm not punching down anymore?" And then they go, "That's not what I mean." And, you know, that like, but at the end of the day, like, I make race jokes, and it's usually the people of the race that love the joke. They come up to me at the end of a show and they'll say that, "Oh my God, that was hilarious." And then a white person will tweet about it and say, "This guy's a racist," you know? So they're just, I think they need to protect people, but nobody needs your help. Like, it's this white savior thing, right? It's this complex of like, I need to ride in on my horse and protect the black people from a joke about black people that black people love. It
kind of reminds me of what a comedian said once. He said, getting offended for somebody else is like saying you're too dumb to get that you should be offended. So we're going to do it for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is 100%. That's what it is. And you need my protection. You need me to come in with my superhero cape and shut this person down because you're being hurt by him. And that person either doesn't know or doesn't care or thinks it's funny. And even if they don't, look, sometimes it doesn't matter who, like I said, I have a video right now that's going, I just posted it today where I do one of these fake kindness influencer things. And it's another comedian in the video. She's pretending to be a waitress. And I'm counting out $100 bills and talking to her about being a single mom. And then I give her a 10% tip at the end of the video, and everybody's losing it because even some people get that it's a joke and they're still mad because they're like, because it just, for some reason, you know, servers are off limits. You can't make fun of servers and wait staff, but she's a comedian. Like, some people just feel the need to protect even the fake innocent. Like, this is an actor. These are two people acting out a scene, and I tagged the other comedian in the video, but still no, the fact that you even went there and thought that this was funny, talking about a 10% tip to a server, I've unfollowed you. I'm angry. This is where I draw the line. And it's like, you didn't draw the line at the single mom going on OnlyFans in my children's book. You didn't draw the line at how daddy got an STD or why daddy hits mommy, but you're going to draw the line at a fake waitress in
Right.
a restaurant where I gave the waiter $20 just to sit at the table for 5 minutes. Like this is what you're mad about?
They didn't get offended at like my big black hawk or
No, it's the fake waitress but I find like every time I do something like even I do this other stuff where I make fun of the men's health podcasters that are telling you stuff's bad, everything's bad for you and going to kill you or give you diabetes. And like people show up and they're like, I need to see your source. I need to see the study that you quoted. I need to see. And it's like, really? You took this? Like, read the hashtag, read the captions for fuck's sakes. Like, I don't know. I find it interesting how many people get butthurt over something that has nothing to do with them. They're not the victim. But my problem is my comedy, there's always kind of a victim in my comedy. And so someone has to ride in on a horse and save every victim in one of my jokes.
I'm surprised nobody's got offended for dead babies. Them babies can't fight for themselves.
It's funny that was me being super extreme, and I was surprised at how little reaction that got.
That's because dead babies were a huge joke in like the early 2000s.
That's where I got the whole idea from. Was all the dead baby jokes that went around, and my whole thing with the dead baby, because I have 15 dead baby books.
Okay.
And I made a joke about it where I would say things like, these make the perfect gift for a miscarriage party. And then people get mad about the miscarriage party, but they don't get mad about the dead baby coloring book or whatever. It's just weird.
Yeah.
What's really weird to me is the dead baby books aren't the ones that gave you the most death threats.
No, my number one death threat book. Do you know which one it is?
Oh no, not offhand.
It's Mom and Dad. It's Mom and Dad's Swinger Party.
Oh yeah, because dudes don't like imagining their wives with other dudes. I remember.
Exactly. It's men thinking that I'm indoctrinating children into the swinger lifestyle, and what I've learned is, because I do like to trigger people, I push hard on the trigger. Like, to me, that's part of the fun. So whenever there's like a triad relationship or a polyamorous thing going on in my books, it's always 2 men and 1 woman, because that makes people more angry, and that's funnier. I think that's more comedic than 2 men and a woman, or sorry, 2 women and a man. Like, that's kind of been done. But the idea when you sort of put 2 men together with a woman, that makes men super, super mad. But they wouldn't care. They wouldn't care at all if it was 2 women and a man.
I think the hypocrisy is it's always angry straight men, because they don't like the idea of 2 men and their woman, but they like the idea of them with 2 women.
100%. Yeah.
And that's weird. That's a weird form of hypocrisy. That's kind of like people that get upset about gay scenes in movies and shit. I'm like, we have heterosexual scenes in these movies and you don't freak out. Like, just because it's something you don't want to see doesn't mean it shouldn't be in the movie.
Yeah, it's because you don't want to see it.
Yeah, and just don't fucking watch it. So how have you handled your TikTok success? Because you blew up on there pretty quick.
I wouldn't call it success. I would call it a blip. I built up a lot of followers on there, but now I don't know if they've like shadow banned me or what, but my videos just, and I've heard a lot of creators say this with big followings, they're like, my videos don't get a lot of play on TikTok anymore. So I don't know. It's nice to have a lot of followers there, because it's something you can quote to a potential sponsor or advertiser, because of course, all the big Fortune 500 companies are lining up to work with me. But like, so I can kind of use it to my advantage to say I have a lot of followers, when I'm trying to get something, like a free pair of sunglasses or some shit. But really the majority of my views and success has come from Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
I've heard that about TikTok. Like they will kind of try to push down. Like if you create a business account, they quit pushing you.
Yeah, I don't have one of those. I knew not to do that, but I think, I don't know, like I used to have a rep at TikTok, and I used to be in this like elite group of creators in Canada, and they would like, push us and take us to invite us to things. And then I think they just realized that my stuff was too crazy, and they kicked me out of the group. And like, they're doing some gala event in Ottawa this weekend or this week, and a bunch of creators are going. I was not invited. And
That's why you should fucking go.
yeah, I should crash the
That
event.
is, yes.
Crash the party, bro.
Like, that's how you be dirty.
Yeah,
Stand outside and do a book reading.
yeah, that's how I roll. No, you know what? I didn't even find out about it until yesterday, and I just find that it's a weird platform because it's the only platform where my videos get taken down. Like, I've never had a video removed from Instagram. I've never had a video removed from YouTube. But TikTok, I mean, I have 33 books that are banned by TikTok.
Which notable ones you got banned on TikTok?
Clip Clop the Racist Horse Cop. My Racist Gran.
So anything racist.
My Homophobic Dad. And so when you like to the problem is, to some people, talking about the thing is as bad as the thing. So when you talk about someone being racist in your family, or or a cartoon fictional racist horse, that triggers people. So like, talking about the bad thing is as bad as the bad thing to some people. So on TikTok, if you talk about racism, they consider it hate speech. And if you talk about, I have a number of books that have been canceled, and a lot of them are really weird, like, but a lot of it has to do with race, homophobia, or Sex Toy Story is another one. Humpty Dumpty discovers workplace misconduct is another one. How Daddy Got an STD is another one, because I made fun of AIDS. And apparently that's still considered homophobic if you make fun of AIDS, even though we've proven that AIDS is a universal disease that affects drug addicts, straight people, homosexuals, everybody. If you make fun of AIDS, they consider it homophobia.
That's weird, because like, it goes after everyone, like you stated. So why would, and I think the take of ignoring it or not mentioning it, and you don't give it strength, is stupid. I think the opposite. If we address it and we weaken it, then you don't have the power to hurt people using that.
Right. And we hit peak AIDS like 20 years ago, right? AIDS is it's passe now. It's not even, we don't really talk about it anymore because of this.
It's like the new 9/11. It's like
yeah. It's more like the shuttle disaster, like the Challenger blowing up. It's like, it's so old and forgotten, but for some reason, people are like, you hate the gays because you talk about AIDS. And, it just makes me want to do it more. Like, when someone tells me, oh, that's considered, quote unquote. I love when they say that's considered, which means you don't consider it that. You're saying you're talking about a mythical third person who considers this homophobia. I love that. And the funny thing is that, like, I will pretend to be gay. I will pretend to be straight. I will pretend to be single. I will pretend to be married. I'll pretend to be anything for the laugh. And so, sometimes I make jokes about stuff, and people will say, oh, that's considered to be homophobic. And then I'll just reply with, but I'm gay, just to mess with their brain, like just because it throws a curveball at you, and now you don't know what to say to me. And then you go through my feed and you'll see all kinds of versions of me telling you I'm gay, telling you I'm straight, telling you I'm whatever. And then you just can't figure me out, which I love. I love being mysterious. Ambiguous, mysterious.
I love that. And I wish I had the balls to do that, because the best comedians are comedians 24/7.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching this documentary on Norm Macdonald, and that's how he lived his life. And I loved that about him, because he did an interview, and it reminds me of what you were talking about, where the interviewer is like, is there anything going on with you that people should know about? He's like, well, for most of my life, I've been deeply closeted. And they're like, you're gay? He's like, no, I ain't fucking gay. I'm deeply closeted. And like, it's just, like, I love the wordplay.
Yeah, because they think they're going to get him to come out on their show, and they're all excited, and then it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not. He's like, fuck that. So how do you differentiate your stand-up with your books, or do you use them in your stand-up, or how's that?
I do, yeah. I use them in my stand-up. Usually when I do a stand-up gig, I'll have the books in a bag, behind my back, kind of like a messenger bag. And I'll do like half my set where it's just jokes, no books. But then I've learned that if I don't pull out the books, because I have done stand up with no books. And at the end, people will come up to me and they'll be like, I know you from somewhere. And then they'll figure it out and they'll be like, why didn't you read your books on stage? So what I do is about halfway through my set, I'll say, because I come, like, my jokes are so dark and so bizarre, you know, I make terrible jokes, and then halfway through my set, I'll say, I'm a children's book author, and they'll just laugh at that because they'll immediately, like, it just will throw them off. But then I'll say, and if it's okay, I'd like to read a couple of books to you. We'll do a little story time. And then I pull out books from my back and they're like surprised and they start laughing just at the fact that I even have books. And then when they see the titles, there's more laughs. And then I read a couple of the books to them. But what happens, I find, is when I do pull out the books, there's usually a bunch of people in the audience who are like, oh, yeah, you're that guy, you know, and they kind of have that epiphany moment where they're like, I thought I saw you somewhere. And now, you know, I have them even more captured. So it's kind of like, it's become it's kind of a curse, because it's become my brand so much that whenever I try to pivot, people just get in my comments and like, get back to the books, you know, and they're just like, more books, you know, and it's like having a one-hit wonder band from the 80s that put out like 7 albums, but we only know that one song that we heard at the high school dance, and that's the only reason we came to your show.
So it does get a little annoying being that one-hit wonder at times.
Yes and no. It's like it's interesting to see when people do that, because I'll usually just kind of come back and say, hey, let me cook, let me do some other shit here, like, give me a break. But like, at the same time, if I didn't have that, then I wouldn't necessarily be, you know, I've done very well for myself in terms of book sales. And so I don't want to discount that and say, oh, you know, I don't like that, because it is my bread and butter. But it's just funny how you become recognized for something, and then if you're doing stand-up, they don't catch on that you're that guy. But then I pull out a book and they're like, that's who you are, you know? And so I need it, because it's helpful to remind people who you are and how they might remember you from somewhere else. But it's just, it's funny how it's become such a part of what I do, that's the expectation when you see me, is I'm going to pull out a book.
So that's kind of like your equivalent of, like, back in the day, we had Gallagher who would bring out watermelons and smash them at the very end of his set. Yours is the books, and it's very similar to that. And I find it interesting that crowds, when it comes to stand-up, they will remember you for that one weird thing that wasn't even related to your comedy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's everybody has that place where they, you know, where they remember you from. I would rather have that than them not know who I am.
Exactly. And that's where a lot of people get it wrong. They're like, I keep doing this thing every night and I wish they knew me for something else. At least you're known.
Yeah.
Like, at least they recognize you from something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I had a comedian on here a while back. Shout out to him, Bill Borenkay. He was a sports broadcaster who got fired and became a stand-up comedian. And he's kind of actually more known for his comedy now than his sports broadcasting, and he was like a Grammy award-winning broadcaster. And I'm like, well, I mean, the transition to comedy sometimes is better for some people.
Yeah, it's been good to me. I've only been doing this for 5 years, and it's been really good to me.
So do you think the whole cancel culture thing helped comedy in a way? It gave it more of a appeal, because people are like, oh, why are people wanting to cancel this?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think whenever there's an us versus them type of a scenario, people like to be, you know, they like to feel like they're on a side. Mm-hmm. And so I think that there's a certain number of people who want to be a part of a group. They want to feel like they're on your side. And if there was nothing opposing what we did, we wouldn't have that. It would just be like, oh, this guy's funny, this guy's not funny. Like, I'd rather be triggering than just not funny. So, yeah, you know, if my options are a group of people hate me and a group of people love me, or a group of people love me and a group of people are like, meh, I'd rather have the hate than the meh. Because the meh, you can't do anything with the meh. but you can do a lot with the hate. And so, and the people who hate me promote me 10 times more than the people who love me. And the people who they don't do anything. So the haters, like if someone I say this a lot, but if someone comments on one of my videos and says, "Oh my God, that's hilarious," and I respond with "Thank you," that's it. We're not having any more conversation. They're not going to respond to me. We're done. But if you say, why are you targeting children? And I respond with, because children are the future, that's going to go on. We're going to have, a 20, 30, 40 reply conversation. And you're going to get so mad, you're going to go and tell everybody about this crazy pedophile. And some of those people are going to get my jokes and say, that guy's an idiot. I love this guy. So like the haters actually work much harder to promote you and to boost your engagement numbers, because the reality is algorithms don't care if comments are negative or positive. They're just comments. We're just counting stats here. And so the people who hate me engage way more than the people who love me.
In the words of, I think it was George Carlin, any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, just spell my name right. That's I think that was P.T. Barnum that said that.
Yeah, that's who it was. I knew it was somebody.
Yeah, no bad publicity.
So, what is your best and worst gigs you've had as a stand-up comedian? You got any good stories of good?
I bombed hard at the Omaha Comedy Festival last year, and it's funny because it was like one of the best days for me in comedy and one of the worst days. I have a George Floyd joke, and Omaha is a very sort of BLM kind of a town, and they were not having the joke. It was just deathly silent. But right before I did my stand-up set, I went up to the green room, and Dave Foley and Kevin McDonald from Kids in the Hall were in the green room. And they're like, heroes of mine from, I grew up in Canada and watched them on TV. And I was like, holy shit, and so I got to meet them, and it was like, they were like scrambling to get out of the green room because they felt bad that it was my green room, and they had done the show before me, and they were like, and I'm like, guys, relax, like hang out, like don't go, don't leave, like, and I took pictures with them, and I'm like, and they grew up right around where I grew up. So we kind of had a quick conversation. I'm like, oh, I'm Canadian, and huge fan of you guys. I took a picture with them. And then they were like, oh, we didn't realize that there was going to be a Canadian here. And they said, we're going to go and sit in the audience and watch your stuff. So I'm doing my jokes for the Kids in the Hall and a bunch of like woke, angry people who just didn't like my George Floyd joke. And so I kind of bombed hard on that joke. And then afterwards, I ran into them after the show, and they were like, nobody liked that joke, but we thought it was hilarious. And I was like, okay, that was good enough for me. Like, sometimes you bomb because of the place you go. Like you're in the wrong town for the, and my jokes are dark, I mean, sometimes.
Yeah, it's like, don't make any meth jokes in London.
Right. Exactly.
I love that, because that reminds me of a little quote I heard where a comedian was giving advice about edgy humor or humor in general. He says, if you bomb one night, but it did good the night before, it was the audience. It wasn't you. Sometimes you can't take it personal.
No, I don't, but I love the groan. I love it when the audience groans. It kind of makes me happy to get them a little bit butthurt. Because a groan is a good reaction. And a groan is often like, a groan is better than silence. And like, if I could do an entire set where people were groaning, I think that would actually be really funny to film and have just all groans. There's no laughter. Every single joke just makes the audience go, oh, like that would be amazing to pull that off.
That'd be great. I'd buy that. Call it the groaning album.
Yeah, exactly. Only groans.
Only groans.
Subscribe to my Only Groans.
My Only Groans. That's your new OnlyFans model, bro.
You got it.
So what is your favorite book that you wrote?
Probably race wars.
Why is that?
Because it felt like one of the smarter books, because I was using different color cars to describe the different races, and like it didn't get banned by TikTok, even though they hate race books. They allowed this cars book to go through, and so it felt like one of the more sort of subtle ways for me to use race humor without using race humor. And when I read that book on stage, like I make fun of, like there's a black car, there's a yellow car, there's a red car, there's a brown car, there's a white car. And every single sort of racial group that's mentioned as a car loves their representation. Like the black car is worried he's going to get stopped by police. Black people come up to me afterwards. They're like, that's fucking hilarious. White people don't love it. But, the brown car's parents don't approve of his career. And the brown people come up to me, and the Indian guys are like, oh my God, that's so funny. That's exactly me. And, so it hits all the right buttons for all the right people, and still triggers the whites, which I love to do.
Offending white people is the best.
It's the easiest.
It's weird because I know, if you haven't noticed, I'm Caucasian too. But what white?
I noticed.
But white people get offended more than other races for races, like we said earlier. Like that is weird.
On behalf of, yeah.
I've not seen that with any other race.
No. And everybody's racist, right? I mean, I live in a place where the majority of the people on my street are not white. The majority of the people in if I were to walk 3 miles in any direction, I'm going to see less white people than any other race. And so for me, it's like, I just like, I like to be able to make jokes, because I know that, brown people are racist, black people can be racist, Asian people can be racist. Everybody has has a group that they don't like. And most of the time it's like it's not like every race hates white people. It's usually every race hates a different race. But the white people have the most guilt and shame, and so they're the easiest to mess with. And I love that. And it's like, it's often white people who live among mostly other white people who assume that because you're touching on all these race jokes that you must live where they live, and you're just out of touch. But usually the white people who make the most race jokes are the white people that grew up in the most multicultural places, because they know which buttons they can push and which buttons they can't push. It's not like I'm, Michael Richards up on stage yelling the N-word at people. It's pushing on stereotypes that we all know and love or hate, but in a way that's not evil, in a way that I believe represents fairly. But I don't know. I just find there's most of the people who get angry are the people that get angry on behalf of others, but those others aren't angry.
But what I love is you just gave me an idea. You need to write another book that is called "Everybody is Racist: A Step-by-Step Guide to Respectful Racism."
Yeah.
Coming to Amazon near you. No.
Some people are like, all stereotypes are bad, right? But then if you make a joke about a black person having a big dick, nobody gets mad. No black person's like, oh, that's a terrible stereotype. But black guys are like, yeah, lean into that. Like, we want everyone to think we have big dicks. Like, so there's like, it's like, not all stereotypes are bad. The negative stereotypes can be bad, but the ones that are either like positive or shine a light on something that's not fair. Like if you make jokes about black people getting pulled over, black people love that because they know that's happening to them. Yeah. And and the fact that you're shining light on it makes them they're okay with that. But white people are like, woo, and they get all pearl clutchy and angry. And I don't know. I love doing that. Like like there's something about making some people uncomfortable but the right people like it.
Yeah, that's like I was in a group of friends of various races, and I was talking, and I'm like, stereotypes don't make sense, some of them, because like black people supposedly they all like fried chicken and watermelon, but what race doesn't? Like everyone loves fried chicken and watermelon.
I don't.
But
I'm white. But I'm
white. You're white. Yeah, you like Taco Bell or McDonald's.
And I'm a vegetarian, so Watermelon's disgusting and it's cruel.
It's cruel. You're the opposite of a vegetarian, bro.
Yeah.
If you think watermelon's cruel. Are you actually a vegetarian?
I am, yeah.
I'm surprised that
I'm on a plant-based diet. I prefer to say that. It sounds less pretentious and gross.
But I love you.
I'm vegan.
I love you for this because you didn't tell me in the first 5 minutes of meeting.
Right. I waited until we're 40 minutes in, so this is a new record for me. I usually lead with, just so you know, I'm vegan and I don't like to talk about meat.
How do you get your protein? No.
Semen.
Semen?
Yeah.
It's not gay though if you're getting it for protein. I actually know all the lists of what makes things gay or not. In the 2024, nothing does.
Oh, or everything does.
Like I found out it's not gay to suck a woman's dick if it belongs to a woman.
If she identifies as a woman, then yeah, it's not gay.
Yeah, it's not. Not at all. So do you have a time limit today? Because I wasn't sure if you was busy today.
No, I can go till I can go till 1. I can go for another 40. I can go for another 20 minutes.
You're good, bro. I was just making sure.
Yeah, I have a hard out in 20 minutes.
You have a hard out.
That's what they say. That's what they say in Hollywood. I have a hard out at 2:00.
Oh, and in the porn business, they just say hard on.
Yeah, or hard in.
Hard in. So what's the weirdest porn you've watched? Let's get weird.
I don't know. I was in that business for 10 years, so there's nothing weird for me there. I don't really have a
I love your answers.
I don't trying to think. Maybe like anything that involves puking.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's puke, I'm out. That's too much for me.
Yeah, I can't do all that puking and shit.
Yeah, gag and puke.
Gag and puke. That's the name of my metal band.
That's the name of my truck stop in Alabama.
Really?
Okay. That's what truckers call the. Did you know that? That's the trucker term for the truck stop. The truck stop diner is no. If you listen to the CB radio, I used to be a truck driver too. If you listen to the CB radio when you're traveling, they'll say, "Oh, we're gonna stop up ahead at the Gag and Puke." That's what they call the diner.
Kind of reminds me of Come and Go.
Do you know what they call hookers?
Lot lizards.
Lot lizards. That's right.
I work at a truck stop.
Yeah. Do you know what they call gay truckers?
No.
Cowboy.
I had no idea.
So sometimes you'll hear them on. They'll be like, when you drive a truck, channel 19 is the general. It's sort of like the all-in-one chat room for truckers, but there's all kinds of other channels on the CB. So if you're driving through, and I remember this happened to me at like 2:00 in the morning in Ohio. I'm driving my truck and I got channel 19 on, and I'm like listening, and I keep hearing this guy say, "Any cowboys, go to channel 4. Any cowboys, go to channel 4." And I had no idea I'd never heard anybody say that before. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to channel 4. And that's when I discovered what they meant by cowboy. They were making arrangements to suck each other off. And that was probably some of the most
and you were next in line.
Yeah. It was the most entertaining audio I've ever heard.
It's not gay to get a blowjob. It's gay to give one.
Yeah. It's okay to be the pitcher, not the catcher.
Right. I've heard all kinds of crazy shit working in truck stops. Have you always lived in Canada though? You said you was going through Ohio as a trucker.
Well, when you drive a truck, there are no borders.
Oh, I know. I was just wondering if you.
Oh yeah, I've always lived in Canada. I travel a lot to the U.S., but I like it. Well, I shouldn't say I like it here. I don't know if I like it here anymore, but it's okay. It'll do.
It's on terrible.
Exactly, it's on terrible. Is that where you live?
Yeah, I'm in London.
Oh, you are in London. Okay.
That's why I made the meth joke. I was like, "Fuck, man!" I'm like 2 hours away from you.
Yeah, that's where my mom lives.
I live in Ohio, where fentanyl and heroin's a problem.
What part of Ohio?
I lived towards West Virginia, Wheeling.
Oh, okay.
I live pretty close. So I'm about 15 minutes from there. I live in a little area of like Morristown area. I don't know if you've ever been through there, but it's hard to explain where I'm at in Ohio unless you live here. Like I'm like, oh, I'm between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. That's
right.
Because like everything's far out. I live out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
What's with all the Ohio jokes? Because I find people in my comment section are constantly like children's books from Ohio, or like everything.
Ohio's crazy.
Everything bad comes from Ohio, apparently.
Yeah, we're the second in line of to Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, Florida's known for being crazy, but Ohio is just drug crazy.
But like Florida, with Florida, it's the Florida man, right?
Yeah.
It's like here we have Toronto man or Toronto mans, as they say. But like the Florida man is like that's like every headline that begins with Florida man is just unhinged. But I feel like Ohio is like it's like a different kind of a pocket. Like Florida is like crazy redneck. Ohio is like dumb redneck.
Yeah, that's fair. Because we're actually close to West Virginia where I'm at, and there's a lot of people, and I'm probably gonna get hate for this, but fuck it. There's a lot of people that like fly Confederate flags and shit. And I'm like, why? Like historically, why?
You guys lost, right? Like,
well, no, Ohio was a union.
Like, why are you flying the loser flag? That's what I want to know. You guys
Yeah.
lost.
Well, that's my question too. But West Virginia, they do it too, and I'm like, you do realize that you guys left to become a union?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The only real one is the white flag, the surrender.
Exactly. That's the flag they should be flying because they did surrender.
So how do you balance your comedy from real life, or do you not?
What's this word balance mean?
Like when you're off stage hanging out with like friends or family, do you differentiate your comedy, or are you just always on?
I'm not. There's no on. It's like there's no switch. So I guess I'm always on, but I'm not. It's not. Like I know some comics that are like they are always on, but it appears that they're on. I just can't turn it off. So I'm a pretty quiet person among my friends and family, but I will say sometimes the most ridiculous things as like a one-liner just in the middle of a conversation, and watch people drop their forks at the dinner table. So I'd say I can't turn it off, and but I don't know that it doesn't feel like it's on. If that makes, I mean, I'm leaning into your analogy pretty hard here, but like it's not. It's just this. It's constantly, my brain is constantly looking for a funny thing to say, but it's not. It's like a default operating system. It's not something that I'm like, okay, how can I be funny? 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 Say the funny thing. It's just I'm checked out almost. And then just a funny thing floats in and it just comes out without filter.
See, that's what a lot of people don't understand, and that's why I wanted your thoughts on it. Is some people are comics, like they go on stage, they do their thing, and then they're not that way off stage. But most comedians, it's like, I don't know if it's a mental illness or what, but it just never stops. We're not doing it for attention. It's just how we are. Our brain just programmed that way.
I do it for attention. I'm a whore. Let's be straight here. I am an attention whore, and I trade in the currency of attention. So I do it for the attention, and I can't shut it off because I'm constantly attention seeking. So it's like it's a weird, it's just a weird way of thinking and being, and it's always like it's been like this since I was in grade 3. I remember being a class clown my whole career in school, and it was attention seeking behavior. Mm-hmm. And I'm 50 years old and I'm still seeking attention.
And at least you're honest. You're like, I'm an attention whore.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I fucking love that about you. And by the way, I would love to have you back on sometime because this has been a fun conversation.
Anytime. You guys are fun. I'd love to do this again.
See, but what are your future plans? You got more books coming out, or are you going to say fuck the people that want new books and be that guy? Or
No, I have more books coming because that's how I pay the bills. I have 151 books published. Jesus. And number 152 is being drawn as we speak. It's already been written. It's called Baby in a Hot Car. And I have 14 books in the pipeline right now. Jesus. And I am in the middle of a Kickstarter launch for 101 of my best-selling books of all time in a giant-sized hardcover. And the title of that book is called Bukkake.
I saw that you had a Kickstarter for that.
Yeah, so I'm about halfway through. I'm about halfway to the goal of 30,000 Canadian dollars, which is about 17 American dollars.
Yeah.
And that's probably on track to I've done 2 successful Kickstarters. This is my 3rd. Hopefully it'll be successful. But it's taking 101 of my bestsellers and throwing them in one big ass hardcover, full color, 320 pages. That's a big project that I'm working on right now. But I'm also I'm looking into, because I've designed a whole bunch of characters, and it's one of my favorite things that I've done with my books is actually creating these characters and bringing them to life, like Clip Clop, the racist horse cop, and Cucumber Curtis, who's afraid of going into the dark place inside your mom, and Becky the throat goat, and Humpy the pig, and these characters that I believe there's a scenario where that becomes an animated series of some kind of like South Park meets Happy Tree Friends meets Archer.
I love that. How does the book process go though? Do you like write it down and somebody artistically creates it for you, or
yeah, I have a sweatshop of artists, and so I send them the work and then they do it, and if they don't do it fast enough, I send whippings. And I just make sure that they're constantly busy, and I pay them peanuts.
That's the smart way to go.
That's the American dream.
Yeah.
But I live in Canada, so
that's the Canadian dream. You fuckers
Canadian
have
nap.
It's the Canadian nap, exactly.
Yeah.
I like that. That's what it is.
So it was great
have
chatting with you, Brad, but I want everybody to know that the link is down there, bradgosse.com. Go support him on Kickstarter.
Yeah, go support my Bukkake.
Bukkake.
It's book cocky. It's Bukkake.
I like a good old book cocky.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know why I can't fucking say book cocky. I just want to say bukkake.
Bukkake. It's just Bukkake.
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 It was nice chatting with you, but before we get off of here, did you agree to this podcast because of the name, or do you not know what a pink sock is?
I don't know what a pink sock is.
This is going to be an idea for your next book. Pink sock is actually a slang term for a prolapsed rectum.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So
it's all clear and fresh now.
I actually have a shirt I was going to make.
Raw.
I was going to get shirts for people that's been on here that says, "Thank you for coming on my pink sock."
I like that.
You'd wear it.
I would wear it. Yeah, I would wear that.
It seemed like the kind of
it didn't even occur to me. I figured there was a joke there, but it didn't even occur to me what that looked like. And I feel like if I was going to refer to it, it'd be a pink sleeve.
the pink sleeve.
Yeah, because it's like you pull your hand out of the coat and the sleeve comes out, That's a bit more on brand for me. But I like pink. So I didn't even know that. I didn't know. I just learned something, and I'm thankful for that,
You're welcome.
because I'm on a lifelong learning mission, and now I can sleep the rest of the day.
You're welcome. It was nice chatting with you, Brad. Thank you for coming by. You're always welcome. You're always welcome on the show. We actually do live hangouts from time to time where anybody can show up. There'll be a link and stuff if you would like to get in on that. But it was nice chatting with you, Brad.
It was nice chatting with you both, and I would love to come back and talk more about the crass topics that you bring up, because it's fun.
It gets raunchier and raunchier the more times you're on, the more comfortable.
I love that for us.
It was nice chatting with you, Brad, and you have a lovely rest of your day, brother. And as always, guys, live long, rock hard.